he has any more. Oh, we can still send them to Dan. I assume, but I think we're pretty well done.
And then we sent Neil your last edits.
And those are the ones
yesterday,
that
so you have
Les
that.
and I did, yeah.
Well, and it's correct in thinking that after the public information session, we'll probably put a few more tweaks on this.
Yeah, so yeah,
if not
absolutely.
included. So while this is final, it's not final.
Yeah,
Founder.
Yeah.
support.
Right. We're done. That's right.
So I don't know if there's any more to discuss about.
Yeah, I guess it's just, if folks are okay with just, I guess, just a consensus with using this as the draft that we will use for the public information meeting.
I thought the draft was wonderful. I thought it really put together everything that we had discussed over the last number of meetings and encompassed kind of the difficulties and coming to, choices and decisions at these crossroads that were coming across constantly. I just thought it was really well put together and really informative as to the whole spectrum of the project. So a great job, everybody, to put it together. I thought it was great.
Good. It's mainly Dan.
I had a lot of help with people's eyes on it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That last email you sent me, I was like, this is all good because, when you're writing,
Right,
the computer picks up a lot, but it doesn't pick up everything.
right. And sometimes it's a word, but it's just the wrong version.
Wrong version, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we kept getting stuck on Forbes and I'm like. That's Forbes.
Yeah,
It's Forbes.
like-
And there was an E in the Forbes,
That's right.
so it was like Forbes magazine.
I kept asking, is this really a word? Because all I can find is Forbes magazine.
Apparently bathymetry is a word too.
Yeah. right. And are the tree survey, is that from 2022 or that does not indicate trees that have since been removed?
Yeah, and we don't have current, I think they
Okay.
totally, I think Jake's got some information, but it's not in
So
a.
we should put a
Format, we
note,
could
we
just
should
add-
note that though.
Yeah,
Maybe we
I
have
did note it in
latest
that section that,
Yep.
that any trees removed after August 2022 are not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shown.
Okay.
And at one time, we talked with Jake about removing those trees, but that was never coordinated, so.
Yeah, I know he's removed quite a few.
Because we had numbered all the trees, he knows the numbers. of the ones
Okay.
that have been taken
So
out.
yeah, I assume he has a record somewhere.
Yeah, so we've got
Wouldn't be
the
that
data, but we
difficult.
just have to go in and.
Is that something we can edit or is that just through you guys?
It's GIS, the city has a GIS, don't
Yeah.
Mhm.
so we could
Yeah.
give those files over. so
Okay.
they could
Maybe we
manage
can
it.
work with
Yeah,
Brad.
Brad could.
And
We had talked to Jake about that at the time too, so.
because I think it would be helpful to update it,
Yeah,
just to,
because I'm sure there are gonna be
What's
cases
different?
where people really closely and.
Yeah,
oh,
and those,
through there.
those trees are all identified unless people started picking off the little metals on. it. The numbers are out there.
Oh, are they? Yeah, on the trees themselves, okay. I haven't looked that closely at them. Well, that's great. So does anybody else have anything to say about the plan? It's written again, if you notice anything else, send it to Dan. So I guess the next thing is just discussing the public information meeting, which we have tentatively scheduled for what, the 17th or the 19th? 17th of January. And Neil, did you ever hear back from the school district?
I have to check the online portal, but as of yesterday and today, it was still in review.
Okay.
So,
I wouldn't think, unless they have something booked for that, it would be that big a deal.
yeah, it said it was available.
Oh, it did,
There was no conflict with the
but they
request.
just need to.
It has to be
formally say.
officially blessed in their system, so.
Okay, or I guess we'll go for that. And when did we start the other ones, Andy? Was it at 6? I think.
yeah, one was at 6 and I think we had the one in the auditorium even at 7.
Oh, okay. I don't know, does anybody have any? I think starting any earlier than 6 is hard for people,
Yeah.
and I think 6:30 or 7 might be better, really.
I'm fine with 6:30.
6:30?
I think we're at 5 to 8 is what we reserve the time for, so.
Well,
Are we
that
gonna,
means-
are we gonna set up in the commons
Yeah.
area again? Not-
That's what we requested, yeah.
And I think the auditorium's booked anyway, didn't they say?
That I'm not sure, so most likely with some.
I'm sure they were
some
gonna be
activity,
musical
yeah.
by now, so. It's kind of like every day,
But is that gonna conflict in terms of noise coming out?
or
The
the
going in
doors
and
will be all closed, the kids all go in through the music department at the back of the hallway, past where the TV station
We'll
is.
be double checking.
So they're not usually on the.
If we start at 6:30, is that enough time, an hour and a half?
We could probably always ask them if we could have till 8:30 or something. I think that's about how long we've had before, isn't it? About an hour and a half?
Yeah, I think we reserved 2 hours just for like setup and takedown.
Okay.
But usually I think we try to plan it for like an hour. Now this one is more presentation heavy than walk around and feedback heavy, but. Yeah, I think if we can check to see if we can go to 8:30 at least, just to.
Yeah, Neil, if there's a way you could do that.
Yep.
So the 17th, we're assuming the Commons. And then Wes and Andy and I met with Neil and went over what we wanted to include, and then Wes kind of scripted it up. Just outlined
Technical
the
term.
back. Yeah. So I guess, you know, how do people, in terms of how this is gonna go?
Yeah, I guess
Do you have any thoughts about it?
this was the outline that's in your packet. This was kind of I added kind of just a PowerPoint slide. Was when I broke it out in a little bit more detail on this, so. Just essentially be. Having slides based on this outline, but then having the presentation slides just kind of running in the background constantly. Like when we're not presenting, but when we're actually presenting, going in and using the same deck. So we'll be going through with introductions, you know, explaining, where we're at meeting wise, overview of the process, particularly the public input rounds. Which again, I think Andy mentioned this, is we want to make sure folks understand that it's been out here, we've been talking about this for a while. So we'll make that case. Get into the final concept presentation, there'll be kind of the actual summary, the vision and goals. I think Nancy, you were actually talking about last time, make sure tying it back to certainly some of the Friends goals. This is where we can do that. Talk about the three concepts. These are the kind of the areas of agreement that we really got the committee came to the last couple of meetings on the overall site, I think. The, considerations on why the facility decision hasn't been made. Kind of building on a very brief note that we have in there, but explaining a little bit more in detail. Just some of the difficulties and financial things going on in terms of just where we're at and just, trying to keep things in order for that. Cost estimates we've got listed in there. And then, the end would be plan implementation. So Mayor doing some overall comments, me talking about delivery models, which I'm good with, I can figure out again. Wes talking about, and then just kind of where the Friends are at and what they're looking at, and then kind of what we're gonna do to get to finally a recommendation to council. It's kind of the outline, so thought it made pretty good sense.
Just to go back, just a small correction, it's not the Friends goals, it's this group.
Oh, this committee goal,
Right.
Yeah.
This whole committee signed off on.
not about.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, in terms of some of the earlier items here, do we want to tee Dan up for present on some of this, or? What others?
Process overview.
You guys like to cover some of the earlier items here on the list here, what do you think?
I mean, I would think he could cover those pretty quickly with. Some slides of just.
Well, I mean, it might be a way to ask people that are there too, how many people have been here to other sessions, because if everybody there's been to another session, you can go even faster. If there's a whole bunch.
Right.
If there's a whole bunch of new people,
Right?
then you might have to go a little slow.
I think emphasizing like, so what did we learn from the archaeological survey? Like,
Yeah.
what
Right,
did we
good
learn from
point.
the house
Right.
assessment?
Right.
Why does this matter? Really hitting on the high points, I think.
It's easier.
And I think we should plan on, some of us anyway, meeting with Dan about those pieces, like at least a week before.
Do a dry run,
Yeah,
on this.
I think this is good. Thanks.
Yeah, I don't know. Does anybody have any other suggestions or?
So as it relates to the final concept presentation, somewhere in those 5 bullet points, I'm assuming we were talking about phasing. Or somebody's talking about the fact that it's gonna be phased in and we're not in a rush and.
Or it comes down to the issue, I think that's where we got.
Yeah, so I think
Okay.
either I
Yeah,
can
you've got the
work it in as
four
part of
different
mine,
pieces.
or, yeah. I think we, probably honestly, all three of us should probably touch on it.
I think that's the top point under first comment. First
Yeah.
line.
Yeah, phase over here, there we go, but yeah.
Got it, thank you.
But that's an important point to.
Yeah,
hammer
yeah.
in.
Right.
Yeah,
It's fast, it's not gonna be done. I think a part of it too is like, we wanted to make sure. The public understands the realities of it too.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
like, with those visions and goals that we have set. It helps the city meet their goals of not necessarily putting in any more money, meets the park's goals of having some sort of revenue. And why is that the case, you know? So throughout this, that hopefully. You know, those realities are also set there, so people understand why we as a steering committee made the decisions we did.
I would, somewhere in there, maybe in, probably in the implementation area, somebody should mention that it's included in the within a half mile of TIF 10 now,
Mhm.
which means that money generated by that TIF can be spent for like pathways and so forth.
Parking lot.
Possibly.
Possibly is the answer on that.
Oh,
I don't know why it seemed odd that you couldn't do a parking lot. if you
Yeah.
could do a road.
although if you're going to do that. And I don't disagree with doing that, but if you do that, we also need to point out that. TIF funds are generated by the developers. And not by the tax dollars, because the vast
Right.
majority of people out there think that TIF
Right.
is, yeah,
Yeah.
that the city is taking. That comes out of their tax dollars.
The other funding was we worked with Monona to submit the stewardship grant. We didn't get it because we didn't have a master plan. You can resubmit for that now because you have a master. plan. And that's
Thought
the
it
trail.
had to do it within 2 years of purchase. I was wondering about that, because you mentioned it last.
Yeah, the Knowles Nelson, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, or we had to resubmit within a certain number of time, I thought, but maybe that might be wrong.
yeah.
I
Go
also
back
thought
and check.
that
I thought we could go back because they said, well, you have to have a master plan, so. it-
Definitely the case, but I
Something
thought
had
that
a
Jake
time
had
on
said
that.
something about it had to, the master plan. That it had to be within 2 years of the purchase. So we should definitely check, we should check that.
I think maybe we had broached the topic of, well, we're in a situation where we aren't gonna have one, and what does that mean? I don't know if we got a definitive answer on that, but
Right.
yeah, we definitely should follow up.
I mean, I don't know who it is that Jake actually spoke to.
There's someone at the DNR right now, I can't
Right.
think of her
So,
name.
and he might have gotten a reprieve from them, or might have said, okay, we'll make an exception, but we don't know that.
Yeah.
Well, probably related to the purchase specifically, you probably have, that could be. That's straight, but if you've got other things you're doing. That's
Oh, you
funds
mean
for
the
other things,
funding
you
for
might
the
be okay.
purchase.
The main point is we're not closing the door on public.
Right.
Yeah,
Right,
there
right.
are opportunities we can take advantage of.
Yeah,
The
non-fund
city's-
tax
the city's not
impacting funding, right?
Budgeting.
Yeah.
Right.
Improvements and
Yeah. Andrew's thoughts or
And
comments?
the TIF possibility of that, I mean, that money isn't gonna be there for a while either, so, and it's. It's just a possibility, so.
Yep.
Anything else?
So this, otherwise I will maybe take a first shot at putting some slides together. And get around to group for comments.
Okay,
So,
and what, we should, sometime this week, try to schedule a meeting to talk about it.
yeah. Just making 30 minutes presentation?
For the presentation.
Yeah, I think that would go much longer than that.
We don't want to get too much, yeah, so we gotta,
It lose people.
yeah.
And then is there a Q&A, or are we doing like the post-it thing again?
Yeah, this was my question, I guess.
I would say Q and A, not, but this is more like we're putting this out for public comment.
Yeah.
So more public comment than Q and A, right? I mean, we might not have the answers back. If we have the answers, maybe. but-
Right.
Or just like.
You mean kind of like the first one where the public could come up and ask questions?
Well, I think more
Reset.
really. It'd be more appropriate for them, the public to make comments on this draft plan.
Yeah,
Like, that's what this meeting is really for,
Okay.
to present it and
Yeah.
give the public a chance to comment that night or, you know.
Yep.
At any time really until it gets,
And in a
Finally,
plenary format, so not by posted, but like, if I'm Nancy sitting in the audience and I wanna make a comment.
yeah,
I'm making, I'm at, or ask a question, it's in front of the whole group, not privately to one.
Yeah.
Steering committee.
I think
yeah, I mean, I think the postings are a really good tool, but that's more for in the development.
Right,
Stage of the plan, yeah.
exactly.
And maybe we should have some other means people can, if, you know, if they want to leave written comments or
Yeah, I
something,
think-
we should make sure we
Well,
got
I
that.
think we need to promote our session and publish the draft, final draft.
Yeah.
And then people can spend the next few weeks.
Well, it's really-
absorbing it.
absolutely.
It's a lot there.
So that first will be up first thing in the morning, so that's the other.
Make sure I have a couple additional corrections to such as some. We should have a way to, where they can leave written comments there too at the
Yeah,
meeting,
yeah.
but then I agreed as well.
And there we're past, obviously past the newsletter time for December, but, and
I think we snuck it in, didn't we? I think we did,
did we put it?
we kind of. Like,
On the
put it on-
newsletter,
we had to adjust the time a little bit, I think we kind of,
in the newsletter.
yeah,
Actually, Will might still be able to, I just proved it
Yeah.
this afternoon.
we
Let
just,
me just see what it said.
I thought it went, did it go out today?
He sent it to me at noon and I sent it back to him about 3 saying what one correction needed, so I don't. See.
Yes,
Oh, I don't know,
Get Parks and Rec.
I don't see it anywhere.
okay,
I think maybe
It hasn't
we
gone
had,
out to the public yet.
no, but I don't, there's nothing about that meeting.
okay.
We could ask him if we could
So, you know, we did,
still put something in.
yeah, we did send him, but he wasn't aware that we were meeting tonight, so
Okay.
I said I shoot him a notice. What do we have, so the official, to be clear, what do we want the official meeting hours to
I
be?
think 6:30 to 8.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
Good,
in the comments of
Yes. perfect, okay.
and then we would wanna do some PSAs on, you know.
Yeah, we should,
Yeah.
but I think we might as well wait till after the holidays to do those, because,
Well, we can get them recorded.
yeah, I suppose. But I'd also like to have the PSA include something about how they can look at it online. But we'll have people around all next week, only I don't know if Will's gonna be gone or not.
It's like, they're getting it up on the web and social media, all that, that's, I can do,
Yeah.
that's not a problem.
I know, well, friends will have it in their newsletter, but that'll go up much later than this one.
And we, once, I think in the beginning of the new year, we should make a note to send out a city alert about it too, but.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk to
I'm sorry.
them. Do we wanna talk to Ethan?
Oh, at the Independent.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Also, someone from State Journal, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
David Wahlberg is from the
Yeah.
State Journal is on.
Okay.
Hi, David, we're talking about you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Good to see you. Thank you.
He interviewed me, that's Sam, I mean, did he talk to you too? A couple of weeks ago when he interviewed me about, the bus, in his article about the buses in today. Or online today. So yeah, I mean, and we can talk about other ways to publicize too.
Yeah, well, and I'll talk to Dan about what we think for, what we wanna have for static displays, map boards. Obviously have the PowerPoint going on, do some things there, but actually have
We should have some,
static stuff
a
that people
couple
can
of
see.
the, Just the plan,
The two planes.
right, the two plans.
The image of the plans and then a board that shows the phases and the costs would make sense.
That's a good idea.
And I think, I mean, I think it's pretty clear in the report, but I would just say in terms of presentations, we need to continue to emphasize that this is a. Because I'm sure that there are people in the know that will see their price tag and freak.
Right, and think that.
And think
city
it's gonna
taxes are
come out,
paying
it's
for
gonna,
it.
well, it's not even out of their taxes that, they're, you know,
Yeah,
having just run into a couple of people. I've been in the office this morning, I'm just saying.
Could come up as a topic of conversation. Yeah.
well, and we could, there's some of that linkage neighborhood has some kind of newsletter, don't they?
They do,
I would think we could get it in that.
Yeah.
Do you guys know who to contact there?
At least know somebody who used to be in that board.
Liz,
Yeah.
Yeah.
True, that is.
Oh, yeah, Liz would know.
I just noticed something. I think on page 129. You've got the. Still the 500,000 in there for the house. It's part of the phase 1 cost. I think that should just drop below the line, it should be part of the. I think we want,
What's the second line? I can't read it. You're saying drop it down.
Where it says multi-event.
I think we want phases 1. To be apples to apples and not. Right, I thought we
Right.
talked about take that out of there,
right,
include that as
Part of the.
part of the restoration. Yeah. Because it's overstating
Makes sense.
phase 1.
Because that's the money for redoing the front, right?
Yeah.
Right, that's all.
You know where to put that, Dan, you got the right.
Yeah, it's, what's it saying, put it on phase 5 where the house is at.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The first 4 phases are pretty close in cost. So it's like pods of whatever, 1.5 million, whatever each piece. And it comes down to 5 is the building,
Right,
which is the big dollar.
and that's where we'll go into more of an explanation, similar to what we put in the.
I see what you did, you've got 5 pages for. Scenario and 5 pages for the next.
But the first 4 should all be
I
identical.
wonder if you could just, if you make this change, you can just do page 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's 1A, 1B, or.
We
That was
could, there's
something.
just some slight differences, but that's
Okay.
just paths where the house. Like the house version, there's paths that go through where the building is on the other version.
okay, so
Okay.
they're not identical.
It's minor, it's
They're
minor cost.
Identical in phases, but they're not identical in line items.
It's just a little,
They're
a
close.
little more here, a
Yeah.
little bit more there. On each different,
So,
but it's kind of insignificant. We could just carry on.
Or you just do a cost summary page where you kind of got the totals at the end. I just think it'd be great to have one place to pick out the most relevant information.
Those are a lot, that's a lot of detail on. Trying to read through.
so, well, could you scroll back to the top of that page?
Yeah.
I was just noticing that on all the phases, it has the construction year, 2025, which I'm like,
People will freak out over that.
Right. because we don't really think we're gonna build in 2025. That's like
Well, I think,
more of a,
I think it's in the paragraph leading into it. The way we explained it was. There's phase cost estimates.
mhm,
And we have to apply costs, this is 2023 costs, and we're
Right.
applying cost of living or increases.
Yeah.
So if you see phase 2, it says construction year 2026, and then we put a 3% cost
mhm,
applied, and it keeps going down to the last one is like 9 or 12% because it's like exponential years out.
Right.
And, we could take all that off, but then you don't really have a sense of, if we don't do this in 10 years from now, it's gonna be $2 million. Well, no, 10 years from now, it's gonna be $3 million. Because you have to keep adding in that
Yeah.
costs of living rate.
Could you just do that with a footnote? I was just kind of explain cost of money over time kind of note there. I do think if they see 25,
So really, construction years that almost like this is what's gonna cost in twenty
Based on
twenty-five.
estimate.
This is what it'll be in a year from now,
Could you just change construction year to
either one.
cost estimate based on 2025? I don't know.
even if it's,
Estimated cost
constructed in 20,
2025,
if constructed in 25.
Yeah.
Or utilizing,
Utilizing, just say cost escalation.
Yeah,
yeah,
Know what it is.
utilizing 2025 costs.
because, construction year sounds like you're.
Yeah,
building
brings around.
yeah.
Can we look at the side-by-side summary that I know we talked about the last night? Maybe that's all we need. I mean, I'm just wondering if people, I don't know. Somebody's, no, it's gonna cost $21. No,
Yeah.
do they really need that kind of detail? I mean, it could stay in there, well, I don't think they, I mean, I guess we can leave it in the report, but in terms of the boards, maybe.
Yeah, so I think honestly, you could, if you really just did construction, design, contingency, and inflation.
I think it's good though to have all that, at least what we're talking, the items that we're talking about, so you know what the first phase would be.
Right.
Yeah, oh, no, absolutely, but I think in terms of, and I think certainly leaving them in the report, but I think in terms of just an overall, if they wanna do that, they
An
can. look on
overall
this,
picture.
This
Kind of take a look
Do
at
we
it.
have
Summary
the
board,
comparison page?
summary,
I think we need a cost summary sheet. We don't have the side by side.
Did we talk about doing this?
I remember you
I think
answered.
there's,
one
I think one exists, you got emailed, somebody did one, I can't remember.
Yeah, I remember looking
Yeah.
at, I remember requesting it before the last meeting, and then when it didn't show up at the last meeting, I said, can we do it side by side?
Yeah, I do think for just like the display board,
just have,
those 4 line items should be.
Yeah.
Pretty
But I
good.
do, and I do think we want to keep this level of detail.
Oh,
in
and
here.
and the plan, yeah, absolutely, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, 2 years down the road,
What were we thinking? Yeah.
somebody wasn't involved.
Yeah, so I agree, absolutely.
Also, it's helpful for people who know what a parking lot costs.
Right.
It's not cheap.
See any comparison.
Yeah, like I said, it's not in the document, but I think I'm possibly email one around.
There's-
Look through.
I guess there's these two things, one for each
Right.
Yeah,
plan.
but just putting them on one,
Right.
yeah.
yeah, that was.
I mean,
That was a
the
request,
drawing,
somebody
the
wanted
photo
to add
was
that
good.
last page.
You can
Yeah.
shrink the pictures and then just have.
Like, I understand why.
You're talking about,
They're separate, but I think we were, when I was originally proposing, it was more.
Single page.
That people could see it in a snapshot.
Yeah.
As opposed to having.
I think it's
Yeah,
on
that
the
should-
display. We can.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Well, and I think you could do it on this too. I mean, just.
Yeah.
Just make the picture smaller and boom, boom.
Anything else?
That's what-
Give a footnote in there on. What's the Alice House, the alternate or the first?
The first one.
I think you need a footnote in there saying. That this option. Could be offset by storage tax credits. Thought we talked about at least acknowledging that that's a consideration.
In that page where we have just the final
Just-
numbers.
which page?
Are you thinking or where are you thinking?
Phase 5 on. the
Phase 5.
master plan.
Yeah, for the house.
Otherwise, the cost differential is. That's still massive.
So the side by side comparison, Nancy, that's for the two, for the house and the shelter, is that what you're?
Yeah, I was thinking the phases side by side, so you
Oh,
could, so
oh.
somebody could look at the two different plans, look at it side by side and see it by phase as opposed to scrolling through five and then scrolling through another.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, just summary, a summary.
yeah.
We can, that's easy.
Yeah, and those are on pages 148,
Yeah, that's the
149
last
now.
pages.
So we could just put both on the same page.
And so which page is the one that you want that note on?
I just think we have to
Yeah.
acknowledge that there's,
Right,
while the cost is significantly higher, there's potentially.
Like 137
Yeah.
page.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Like potential eligibilities that. I'm not certain.
Is that something you're gonna bring up as a tax credit when you present?
I don't know how much we want to go into the weeds. I think it's more about like. The further analysis needed and.
Yeah, I think when we're talking about some of the other revenue streams that we're looking at, I think we got to put that in, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, this is one of the other.
It's one of the reasons we
options being
considered.
Yeah.
Right,
But for both options, to me, it's the bigger topic is it's a function of donor capacity and willingness
Right.
right.
in both situations. And that we have to. explore that.
Neil, since you're gonna be highlighting some PPPs. Did you do some road trips?
Did not. So part of it was weather and part of it was. Thought maybe Jake was gonna be coming back and somebody I'd like to take him with if we could go, so.
He'd like to go too,
Yeah, I
right?
think he'd like to go too.
Who is it?
Jake, our
okay,
Jake, I
got
get him to ride shotgun and I think he'd be a good resource to me.
Yeah.
Especially in some of these existing facilities, I think he's gonna know that stuff. He's gonna, his BS detector will be much more sensitive than mine in terms of costs and looking at things and when he's in reality, when it's people we've sat with him in meetings in the community center and just been like. He's like, yeah, so here's the problem of why we can't do that here. And he can just roll them right out, so just by walking around the room, so. We're trying to get that, still gonna try to get that scheduled for Jake. Sure.
And the one that we used from Outagamie County was Jake knew that one. So
Yeah.
he gave us the name.
And they knew of him, like I said, I think
Yeah.
they wouldn't have, as soon as I mentioned it, and I name dropped him, I told you really did that. But as soon as I mentioned that, they're like, oh yeah, whatever you need, we'll gladly just say, it was totally because they knew him, absolutely, so.
Well, I made a commitment at the last meeting. To come up with a number of different other. And I sent links to.
Yep.
Neil
Yeah.
and Mary and these guys, including. Silverwood, which is Dane County's newest park, 300 and some odd acres, and Friends Group. In a public-private partnership, and they've done a master plan, and the Friends are gonna be responsible for. So,
That should be an ongoing thing for anyone interested.
Yeah.
Don't get a chance to drive on it, so then decent distance, we should go check it out.
yeah,
As I said, I think actually walking around the spaces is gonna be a lot more useful than. So I think we've seen some of the master plans, a couple things looked at and seen, it's all.
Yeah.
Peaches and cream and some of these other things all great, and also you realize like, okay, this is what we had, and I'm like, this is what our bids came in at.
Right.
And all of a sudden reality sets in a little bit, so actually being able to talk to these guys and visit with them is a big deal, so.
Any other thoughts?
Yep, we have our marching orders for that, good there, so.
And I'm assuming this meeting will be our January meeting. I guess we'll have a February meeting to
Yeah, we can always,
debrief and whatever.
Yeah.
Planning on the March. Council.
Send it to council. Yeah, that probably.
will you be, videotaping or? recording.
I did, yes, did you get a chance to check with Will about that?
I don't think he said it would be an issue. He may have to do some logistics to make that happen. but I
Yeah, I
think
mean, he did do it for the last one,
Yeah.
so.
It's actually easier for him probably to do taping from at school than this even from here, so.
And he has equipment there,
Yeah.
so.
I think that's a good target date, should work for that.
Um. So yeah, assuming it's fine with the committee in February, we'll go send it to council and.
So
hopefully we have-
Well, I suppose it doesn't matter, but I was gonna say is the intent to get approved before the election.
That would be nice.
Just.
I just think then we're not having to re-educate a whole bunch of.
Right. So you
Yeah,
think
how
you
election
to
comes
get
out.
it first read or home or something.
Yeah,
Get it done.
and there will be one meeting after the election too.
Yeah.
Because the reorg meeting will be that third Tuesday of April, so. So yeah, it'd just be good to get it wrapped up, plus it's supposed to be done at the end of December, so we're not too off, but. Yeah. So anything else? So if you think of anything, send it to Neil and Wes, and I, that would be good, and we'll set up a meeting for.
Do a test run.
Yeah.
Get some slides done, put it out to everybody here, and then we'll sort of go through, so. If anybody really wants to get up and practice their public speaking, let us know.
Right.
We'll sign you a couple slides. Happy to do it, so.
So question, there'll be one more final corrected or other than the one that we just got?
Yes, and there might be something after the meeting on the 17th too.
Sure, yeah.
People may ask,
So-
could you include
So we'll
something?
make, these edits we talked about tonight, because there's just a couple, but I won't send it to Neil until we hear back. Because then we're gonna get confused. We have a bunch of
Which one are
different
we-
versions.
exactly, right.
But you already have a version that's updated from what we got, right? So, yeah, could you go ahead and maybe share that?
Yeah.
If we're gonna,
I
Is,
mean, why wouldn't we have those changes made like that you
I
had?
can do them tomorrow and send it.
I mean, I would say
Delete
get
the
all
one
those
you got.
changes and then
Yeah.
Delete that one and we'll send another one.
just get the most recent one.
We have time.
the one I have is dated the 14th.
Yes.
So
So, yeah.
if that was up on the web.
Yeah, I go for one more version as opposed to
Yeah,
the more
Yeah,
versions, yeah.
right.
so.
So that one just downloaded yesterday, I think, right?
And
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
one, and I found there's a couple things in the stuff that we sent you to change, there are one or two words missing, I noticed, so.
So get your stuff in the Dan for the last final
Yeah.
one before we send it out.
Yeah, I mean, you guys still want me to try to kind of move that into this, or do you want to just kind of stick with the one Dan's got in there for purposes of the document, or what would you guys want to do? Like to see a final that jives with our outline that you got here, Wes, and kind of drop that in? I think that's ultimately our goal. I think I would want to do that. Have that all,
Do you have? a
the executive summary
specific-
format, so we got the one that MSA prepared in the middle.
Yeah,
Like we're kind of talking about doing one that kind of matches the outline we talked about for our slides, so it's kind of
Yeah.
apples to apples.
I think the side by side costs,
Mhm.
if you move that up to the executive summary. I mean,
Yeah,
people aren't gonna go through 150 pages, and you gotta
Right.
dig all the way in there to find this stuff.
That's good,
So if the executive summary. Just looking at, talks about a process, right? But maybe it needs. Maybe we need to add a little bit about the result. In that summary. And, you know, what we're bringing forward is like super high level.
Yeah.
Two options, 5 phases. You know, I mean,
ABC,
bullet points of
yeah.
all the things,
Yeah.
you know, that they include, and here are the costs, just.
yeah, it should definitely include what the result was.
and Wes did come up with edits for how one of the places where we put in the new version of how we're handling the houses in the executive summary.
Yeah, so. Yeah, it definitely should include what the conclusion is.
Good.
And almost shorter on the process.
Get the vision. and
Does
goals in there.
Does it say anything in there about how we expect it to be paid for, but we expect improvements are gonna be like that, maybe should be in the executive summary,
Fundraise and,
but primarily fundraising and.
Yeah, that's in our outline, yeah.
I think we try to do that, because if we don't, just begs questions and people have to search through it.
yeah, we definitely need to make sure there's something about that.
Yeah,
Well, especially if we're gonna put the cost estimates in there.
Right.
Yes.
And can I suggest sending out an email sooner rather than later to the steering committee to alert them to the new time and confirmed date?
For this, for the public information.
Yeah,
meeting.
I mean, you know, I think, I mean, I know. I texted S. To confirm this meeting because. I didn't write it down on a pad of paper, and if I hadn't written it down on a pad of paper, I wouldn't have seen it. I mean, it's not like it's published.
Oh, I just said we've been typically meeting on the third Tuesday, I guess, so I just.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is obviously there's a lot of people missing. And I
Well, they
just
all
want-
got the agenda and everything. Mary Lee has told us she wouldn't be.
No, I know, but I'm saying looking forward, you might
Yeah.
want to send out something
Yeah.
now. For that, we've confirmed that it's gonna be at this
Yeah.
time, at this date, and we
No,
will
you're
like you all there, you know, because we're
Yeah.
missing a lot of people tonight, and if they only get it 3 days, you know, 4 or 5 days before the event, they might not have it.
Oh, right, yeah. We'll do that.
So,
Well, we're getting to the fun part. We don't want them to miss the fun stuff.
No.
exactly,
We're getting
And
to the
they
tail end
only-
of this fun.
I'm gonna miss it, but I don't want everybody else.
Oh, you won't be
Yeah,
there.
I won't be. Won't be in Indiana.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Business in Indiana.
And we did talk about that date at their last meeting too, so hopefully some people made a note of it, but. But yeah, we'll get that out in the next few days.
Wes, can you clarify to me like what talking about the tax credits means in terms of, you know, watering into the weeds and so forth? How do you want to present that to the public and whatever? Seems something that was a big topic of conversation for us here. So how did that tie into like presenting that in terms of creating hope or whatever? I mean, their thought process behind that.
The thing we have to explain is that we didn't make a decision one way or the other. And one of the reasons why is that each path requires more planning and more analysis around what funding is available to support it. Like, donor funding will be a huge piece of both. But a restoration of the house, you know, brings other possibilities and opportunities.
Sure.
And more planning. So I think that's the point is
And again, I think
you don't tear it down without doing all the due diligence and without assessing the capacity that's out there. And we truly haven't gone out selling a master plan to donors, major donors yet, because it doesn't exist yet.
Right, that's what we've been waiting for.
Right. So this is the roadmap. Now we need to start socializing that.
Sure.
the important thing is to identify it as a revenue source without trying to explain to everybody how the tax credits work.
Yeah.
That'll make your head swim if you're not familiar with how those really work.
I think for us, it's also spinning it as a, you know, not considering it as a crush to follow, but as a tool.
Yeah, so guys, this is a revenue option that could generate significant funding opportunities for the project. Yeah.
So who should talk about that, about the facility, why this facility decision is not made considerations?
Got that.
Is that something you want to talk about? Because you seem to have a good, I mean,
I had that much.
I understand why, but you seem to go cool. So,
That's why I asked Alexis if she could join us, and she's on the phone.
we didn't want to have a cold stop with the project, saying we're done with the master plan. So we're talking about programming in the next step, having a project looking at programming a space. So Quinn Evans has done that, and they're quite good at it, and she can help you through making that transition into that next step. So we might not do it tonight, but maybe that's something that you want to think of as a follow-up, just having a transition discussion on what's our next step? You know, where do we go from here? And Neil and I talked about.
Oh, yeah.
this. To us, it seems like figuring out the program for the building is the next step. Because that's the unanswered question. What do you do with the building? Keep the house, build a new building, where do you go? You could start projects in the park, parking lot, sidewalks, those sorts of things, but the building's a big question out there.
I think the next step is relationship between the friends in the city. I mean, that's really, we gotta,
True,
that to me is the exact.
Yeah.
Gotta do that before we can. Is a steering committee, I mean, we kind of have a life up until we're concluding our scope of work here, and there's a new scope beginning, and I think the partners need to work through that to me.
which we wrote first, way
Yeah.
with that
Yep.
understanding.
But I think you're right, Dan, that's logical. I mean, that's the second step.
Yes.
Yeah.
We just don't want a cold shot that, oh, we're done, you know,
No,
and then.
that we just shelve it, no, it's not,
Well, the programming is what's gonna give the identity to the space,
right?
Right,
you know, and really honestly, depending on what programming you can identify the park, you know, in many ways.
Right,
So it's crucial. I mean, programming will drive like a facility and vice versa, you know, it can go either way. So,
But the simple things are like the stewardship grant. I can ask tomorrow and find out if we can still go
mhm,
resubmit for that. You know, those are the easy questions that we can work on now before that we're done with the master plan.
Say more about that, you're offering to write a grant.
No. We did.
I don't know, that's kind of what I heard, I'm gonna check my,
But Winona did hire us to write the grant the first time, and we were unsuccessful because we didn't have a master plan.
probably use a lot of that.
It's
a base,
basically just resubmitting with the master
A
plan.
bigger concern for me is will the joint finance committee even
Yeah.
discuss it? I mean, we've had that happen here.
but wasn't the previous grant, the 249?
We did get 249 from them, Mills Nelson.
Maybe. For the purchase, yeah, but then we submitted one for,
Wasn't that federal?
it might have been, it was for the trails, it
Yeah,
was, it was a law company.
Oh,
Right,
yeah,
it's a lot, right.
It was based
So it
on
was more
trails.
than that,
Yeah, it was like 2 million,
it was like what?
2 million.
Really?
North of.
So,
but in Wisconsin, those are focused more on active recreation.
right, they
Yeah.
have a fast.
Each state kind of decides on their own, what focus they, in most states, it is more passive, I guess, but not here.
We did get law con for trails in Verona. But it was only like. I think it was 300,000, 200 and some $1,000. So it's a scale,
Yeah,
you know, if it's just paths and paths. It's not much money, but every little bit helps.
yeah, right. Take that.
Well, and I think we should take a look at it too, because what are they defined as active recreation? Does it have to be a soccer field? Can it be walking paths and hiking,
Well, that was my impression, that it was more like soccer fields.
boating,
and
water
stuff.
sports, birding, birding? That's not too inclusive if they only do soccer.
Right, yeah,
Or excluding a lot.
but I remember Jake explaining.
Yeah, and it is backwards. And I can tell you, we're working with land trusts all over the country, the walk on money usually is more natural spaces. Built out playgrounds.
It used to be not too long ago that it was just ball fields. You could get a baseball field, soccer field, you could get it almost all paid for in Buckeye. We did a lot of work at UW Whitewater, all kind of money. For baseball fields.
Anything else? Wes, you don't have anything? Stay add, or, I guess next steps is each of us is gonna do a piece of this work on that and share some slides or whatever.
Yeah, I'm trying to get some slides together. Get it out to everybody to spread pads out. So.
Happy to, back and forth.
Yeah, cool.
Look at the executive summary too, because I think,
Yeah.
if that can tell the story we're planning to tell on the
Mhm.
17th, then it's a good first couple pages for the people to read when they open the document.
Right, yep.
We can have as a separate handout. Just so have the full, we can actually have just a smaller copy, just grab it as a handout.
Sense.
We can do that.
Okay, and then we'll plan on hopefully meeting like early that week of the 8th or whatever to.
Yeah.
Go over what we've got and see what other pieces we still need. So. I guess if there's nothing else, shall we adjourn? I guess, are there any updates from city staff or the Friends?
We have no other updates.
So the only update is officially, Wes is gonna be assuming the president of the Friends
Is that in
come January 1,
Okay,
so.
Some sort of moderation or.
There's a huge ceremony. It's gonna be 3 days long. It's the invites. Yeah.
Celebrated all of Andy's work.
yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
But you are staying on the Friends board.
Yep, Friends board, stay on this.
It's like the buff, yeah.
Can't get rid of that,
And I would,
Out of the minutes.
And I would also say the with sculpting symposium is cooking festival is really cooking up, and they just received $1,000 from the Department of Tourism.
Nice.
Dedicated totally to marketing, so we thought it was gonna put Monona on the map, it's gonna put Monona on the map in a big way.
Yeah, we get a lot of coverage, a lot of stuff on the news, but on school.
And all of the artists have, all of the sculptors.
oh, so you got all the.
That's big.
12,
so
Yeah.
12 in total.
Yeah, I think our calendar's set for next year, so we'll
Yeah.
have our newsletters coming out. We've got snow state games, February, January.
That's a place.
Yeah. And I remember what we're
And
doing.
that is in the news.
Yeah.
We'll bird watching event, we'll have 3 beer gardens, 1 beer garden connected to the festival. The celebration on the shore again.
And we're doing a volunteer appreciation event and then donor appreciation event.
We just need snow. No.
I bet Federal Basin start making.
Yeah. Just one blower, that's all you need.
All right, well, if there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all, and we will get out an email by the end of this week about the 17th.
Hopefully the high school.
We're trying to get the school confirmed, so.
Yeah.
Once the superintendent retires, everything.